It's on you, sir. Greetings and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And thank you all for being on time. Let's give God praise again for Bishop Thomas L. Brown, Sr. And again, want to just do a quick shout out before Elijah starts this part of the program, but want to shout out Brandon and his team with AV. Let's give Brandon a hand. And I want to give a quick shout out to our event coordinators, TGB. Is that right? TBG. I do it wrong every time. But Principal Tammy and with her sister Carlotta and Corey, they are the individuals or the brainchild behind making sure that this conference is running with levels of excellence that I could not attain. So Bishop Brown's message is correct. You need a team. Amen. And I want to shout out, I know there are some gentlemen from Walls Memorial, all the way from Chicago, 200 South Sacramento, West Side. Amen. All right. Elijah, we're in your hands.
All right. I guess to get my nerves gone, how many of us are happy to be in this house today and alive? Amen. For it is truly the day that the Lord has made, and I need a little bit more in my mic so I can feel comfortable. But this is the day that the Lord has made, and we all ought to rejoice and be glad in it. Grateful today to be speaking with my father that we was just joking in the back with my elder. That every time I see him, he gives him lessons on being healthier and not to die. And I say every time I see him, he always gives me a lesson. Amen. So I'm grateful to actually learn a lot more from him on today and his perspectives on his new released book. Now thinking about it, as I was thinking of, the summary on this Fireside chat, how many books that you've written within my one lifespan, that being 4 books in total, correct?
That's correct.
From Exchange to Press and Reset to Notes with the Doctor, now to this book, Leverage Leadership, Unlocking the Power of Influence, Impact, in AI. And I just want to give you your flowers openly to allow you to know that you're very inspirational. And the work that you do, the drive that you have doesn't go unnoticed. I want you to know that because of you, we're able to have 3 of my leaders come from the west side of Chicago and come out here and really experience greater and better. And because of your influence, you're not just impacting the 9th Episcopal District, but you're impacting this nation and boundaries outside. So I wanted to give you your flowers.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so with this book, Leverage Leadership, and I have a copy. If you don't have a copy, you ought to get yours. I believe most of the 9th Episcopal District has read their book up to this point. Walls, we gonna get there, amen. But you will see 3 main channels to becoming a leverage leader, the characteristics of leverage leaders, identifying foundational traits and mindsets that define impactful leaders. You also see becoming a leverage leader, offering actionable steps to embody and apply these traits in real-world scenarios. And then finally, advancing as a leverage leader, providing advanced strategies to sustain growth, drive innovation, and expand influence across various environments. I believe a notable aspect of the book is its emphasis on integrating artificial intelligence into leadership practices. You underscore the importance of utilizing AI as a tool for innovation and growth, enabling leaders to stay ahead in a rapidly changing world. Drawing from real-life experiences and strategic insights, this book equips readers to lead with vision, empower teams, and harness AI for enhanced impact. Whether in ministry or the marketplace, this book offers valuable tools and inspiration for leaders aiming to elevate their legacy of excellence. So as we open this fireside chat up, I just have a few questions for you, and then we'll go into Q&A and allow y'all to have another bathroom break in the name. Amen. It's all right to laugh. I tell my church all the time, it's all right to have fun in church. Amen. Amen. So Bishop Haynes, my father, your book, is a bold exploration of leadership in a rapidly evolving world. What inspired you to write this book at this moment?
Very great question. I've been asked this question several times over the last maybe 6 months. This particular book, I was at a conference doing a leadership development seminar. For some of you may or may not know, I've been teaching leadership development for the last 20 plus years in various sectors, been nonprofit, been faith-based, and some been corporate. This particular invitation I received, it was a little bit more than a year and a half ago. And a leader walked up to me and simply asked a question. He says, so what's your definition of leadership? And I gave it fast, quick, and hurry. He says, okay. He says, so what is your definition of leadership? I said, I just gave it to you. He says, no, that sounds like that's somebody else's. What is yours? And it stunned me because for 20 plus years I've been teaching various tools, and if you know anything about leadership development, there's more than 10,000 definitions. There's more than 1,000 modalities around leadership. And the moment he said that, it just crystallized that I need to work on what that looks like for me. And it had to be germane to who I was. Number one. Number two, it had to make sense. And it had to follow the traditional thought process around organizational leadership and leadership development. So out of that, born this book. Simply, who am I as a person? I don't know how it happened. I think it's a God gift, but I've been always able to attract people outside of my own world and multiple spheres at a time. So as a result of that, this definition of leveraged leadership is born. And I'll give you, if you hadn't read the book yet, I encourage you to read it for those who are online. But the definition is simply this. Leveraged leadership is the ability to get maximum outcomes with limited resources using a lever. I'll give you another quick example and then get to your next question. I was just in Phoenix, Arizona, feels like what, a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Reese Young was teaching leadership to 100 influential pastors across our connection. Been going to that mountaintop experience for more than 14 years. First time that I was teaching, and you all should be proud because in that room, I'm literally the only CME there. And for them to elevate me to that position of teacher in the room was humbling, to say the least. Thank you. But while we were sitting out, one of my best buds, Matthew Watley, who's the senior pastor of Kingdom Fellowship AME Church in Calverton, Maryland, we were sitting out near the pool. And if you know the Phoenix weather, it can get hot in a New York second. So we're sitting there starting to bake. So it was an umbrella near me. Umbrella was down. I said, don't wait for the guy, the attendant to come. I'll just pull it up. I tried to pull it up with my hands. Was not able to do it. The attendant walked up. He says, oh, what would you? I was like, I'm just trying to get it up, you know, get the umbrella to work so we can get some shade. He says, sir, if you want this to work, you got to use the lever. The lever had the capacity, what my hands and my strength could not. It had the capacity to not only shade the area, but transform it so we can be cool. Leveraged leadership has the capacity to change what seemingly is insurmountable, to transform your environment out of limited resources. Just a lever can change your outcome.
Yeah. You already about to start this thing, I see. So with that, how would you define leverage in the context of leadership?
It's based off of two definitions, I would say, as my basis. Many of you all are familiar with a voice in leadership by the name of Ronald Heifetz. And if you're not, you should be. 2004, I just finished my doctoral degree at Southern Methodist University, was burnt out of school, and Bishop Henry Milton Williamson Sr. said, hey, I got something for you to go to. And I was like, Bishop, I'm not going to nothing. And if you know Bishop Williamson, he don't know how to take no for an answer. Oh no, you're our leader, you're our leader. So he signs me up and pays for me to go to Harvard University for a Summer Leadership Institute. Many of the leaders I see across the country now were in that class. The late Calvin Butts was one of our instructors. The famed Floyd Flake was one of our instructors. But the third person was Ronald Heifetz. And Ronald has this concept called adaptive leadership, which really in a nutshell, you can read, it's a thick book, about 300 pages, but in a nutshell, what it is flexibility over control, right? Most leaders want to be in control, right? I'm the pastor. I'm the presiding elder, right? And don't challenge my leadership. Well, if you operate in that, you're already broken, right? So what Ronald Heifetz says is that you have to have flexibility over control, that you understand how to operate on an imperfect template, right? That the template is constantly changing, but you're adapting so that you can lead people with direction and an influence to a place that they don't want to go. All right. That's one side of it.
That's good.
The second side is I heard, and I can't remember how many years ago this was, but the late Samuel DeWitt Proctor was speaking at a Community Renewal Society banquet at the time. Pastor of Walls Memorial was Marvin Frank Thomas, who's our 62nd bishop, was in attendance. We were sitting across from him, and we heard from Dr. Proctor's mouth that leadership is the ability to deliver on relationships. Those two definitions became the quadrant, if you will, that produce what we have as leveraged leadership.
Thank you for that insightful answer. Many leaders operate with influence, but not all of them can create impact. What's the difference between influence and impact, and how can leaders ensure they achieve both?
That's a very great question, deep question. I don't know where you got that question, but we'll figure out how we're going to deal with it. Thought you were supposed to give me some lobs so I can hit them. All right. Leadership at best is influence with direction. And let me say it this way. Your greatest commodity as a leader is your ability to influence. You lose your ability to influence, persuade, change, and direct. You have no leadership. There's an under-definition that most people hear and understand that says familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
Right. Now, and I don't want to get too heady, but antithetical to that is relational leadership. Because relational leadership is modeled off of building relationships. So influence is at its best is how can I build a relationship with someone or with some entity that allows me to have influence to change the trajectory of direction, all right? If you're able to change direction and trajectory of direction, that's where the impact comes. So most people believe that impact is designed to have a big splash. But it's not the splash. It's the pebble in the water that creates the ripple that causes the impact.
Wow.
Most people want the big splash.
Yeah.
That's not the splash. It's always the pebble that creates the ripple in the water. If you all remember a few years ago, when the first plane went down, before air traffic control had challenges, I'm just talking about what I'm talking about, there was a plane that went down over the Hudson a few years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago. That plane was taken down not by a helicopter, but by a bird that got stuck in the wing, in the propeller, and it took it down. Oftentimes, we look for the big in the situation, but the impact is really with the little.
Thank you. So you emphasize the intersection of leadership and AI in this book. Some people see AI as a threat to leadership, while others see it as an asset. How do you see AI transforming the role of today's leader?
If I can say anything in this room this week, is embrace artificial intelligence. It's not the devil. All right. It's not the man trying to look in on you. Right.
Not yet.
It's I'll get to that part later. He raises issues around ethics, which anything has good and evil with it. So I won't discount that. That's the issue of ethics. But what I will say is that the church, and I'm talking about Church Universal, has the uncanny capacity to be on the precipice of the forefront and not left in the dark ages. If you do not embrace artificial intelligence at this point, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I don't want to go into a whole, but you see I get passionate about this. One of my former neighbors moved away. Won't say much about him because it's a whole lot there. But one of my former neighbors who lived next to me moved away. I was just having conversations with him about some of the things I was working on. Artificial intelligence came up, and he says, hey, I have this guy that I need you to meet. I said, who is he? He says, well, he works for me. He says, I'm going to pay him 4 hours to spend with you so that your passion can become reality. I said, what is that? He says, he's going to teach you what artificial intelligence look like. So this guy who's a foreword of my book, Simon Margolis, who is the director of artificial intelligence for SADA Incorporation. And SADA just was sold to Incel. But he taught me what artificial intelligence is. At best, artificial intelligence is a language. It's not a person. It's not a thing that has capacity to operate on its own. It is a language. Many of us have been using it for years and not even known it. Artificial intelligence has been around actively in this country since 1960. So this is not something new. You got a smartphone, you have Siri, that's artificial intelligence. That's generative intelligence, right? Normative intelligence is your maps. That's why some of your maps get stuck sometimes, because it doesn't have capacity to change its rhythm, right? If you use artificial intelligence, it will not only scale up who you are as a leader, but it will free you up to be more effective in your relationships. I'll give you an example. I don't know how Bishop Brown has done his job for 20 years, especially the amount of letters that need to come out of the office of bishop that a bishop has to write. My first 6-8 months, I was stumped. Whole nother world I didn't even realize for all of those candidates that think you understand what it is. It's a different world. Artificial intelligence put me back in control, 1, of my life, 2, of my schedule, 3, of my productivity, by simply every letter that I write now is gone through Autobot, right? Every single letter. I'm just being super transparent. Yes, I can write that well, but they do it in less than nanoseconds. I put my subject in, I write maybe a paragraph of what I need, I tell it what I want it to do, and less than 5 seconds, I got exactly what I want. Already subject-verb agreement together. I ain't have to worry about any grammatical errors. I don't have to use Michelle, who runs $48 billion enterprise. I don't have to have her proofreading my notes like she used to do back in the day, right? You know, she was like, oh no, she was wondering, it's like, I ain't read nothing in a minute. Is everything okay? It's Chat GPT, right? Just giving you some kind of context. So I don't want to go down that road too far, but I dedicate a whole section, I think 4 chapters in the book about artificial intelligence. And we're going to have Glue here this week. Tomorrow, we're going to deal with artificial intelligence. And I plan to use one of your apps to create reels out of this content for this. So I just want to make sure we're doing this right. Go ahead.
Most definitely. You also write about the importance of executing relationships. What does that mean, and why is execution a missing ingredient in so many leadership models today?
Well, I think yeah, go ahead.
And when you speak of this, don't just speak on a pastor level, but also on the ministry leading level and everything in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so when I think of life, I don't think it in the context of just solely ministry or solely pastoral. So as I give you these nuggets, begin to unpeel them in your own context. Say the question one more time, and I'm going to take it from there.
You write about the importance of executing relationships.
Okay.
What does that mean, and why is execution a missing ingredient in so many leadership models in today?
All right, I'm trying to answer this in 4 quadrants. The first thing is that I would say this is generational. So you're Generation Z, I'm Generation X. Bishop Brown is Generation Baby Boomer. Maxton is Generation Beta, right? Generation Millennials and Zs are familiar with this term, I'm gonna block you, right? I'm deleting you, right? Because we live in a world where information is so fast and vast, we have the capacity to make people expendable. You can't execute relationships when people become expendable, right? So you have to have some kind of capacity of grace to look beyond people's faults, literally, see their need to build a relationship. There's always somebody, if you work, it don't matter what kind of jobs you work. I worked commercial marketing and healthcare before, early on in my career. There's always somebody who you want to block, delete, or expend. It's just the way it is, right? You know, it's based on your personality, based on your characters, somebody, but to execute relationships, you have to hold on to the relationship long enough to develop it for what the asset it is. Does that make sense? All right. The second quadrant I would say about executing relationships is understanding relational leaders and relationships evolve. You should not be the same person you were last year, this year, right? Should not be. Right. You know, I remember growing up in Chicago, and I would hear people say, you ain't changed. And something in me had a visceral reaction, right? Because it suggests the fact that as you age, something should change about you. Amen, somebody? Right? Like I remember I had waves like him, right? I remember when I was his size, right? Right? Now I have hair that God continues to give me a haircut with, right? Something should change about you. Relationships should change. If you still have the same familial relationship with a person you had 5 years ago, there's no growth. That relationship is not being effective for you. So executing relationships literally mean you maximizing out of it the best that can be for you, and that should be reciprocal. All right? I said 4 quadrants. The third thing is understanding the nature of the relationship and how it should change and what season it is in, right? Some seasons are not meant to remain constant. I remember when I first met Gabe Harper, who's with Compassion International. I met him before he was an assistant pastor at a giga church in Atlanta. That's when I first met him. Since then, he worked for Logos software company, and he's been at Compassion International. I'm hoping and praying, I've known him a little bit, but I'm hoping and praying that I've seen him iterate different types of persons over the years. His relationship with me today is very different from the relationship to me then. And I'm using him as an example because it suggests the fact that if I want to grow in relationship, I have to be able to handle the changes in capacity. All right, the fourth quadrant is simply this. It's okay for some relationships to end. It doesn't mean that that person is demonic. It doesn't mean that you have to put that person as an opt, as the kids say, or the opposition, right? It just means that the relationship is over, and you have to become comfortable and okay with that, right? That's, if I can give you nothing else, that is, if you can live with those things, you can live well, you know. And it's not that you disown people, just understand the relationship is over. And that's okay. It's a book by Dr. Henry Cloud, talk about necessary endings. Some stuff, if you hold on to it too long, it begin to hurt you and not help you. Right? Right.
Yeah, that's helpful, even for me, as I strive to grow as a leader. What would you say are the biggest mistakes leaders are making right now when it comes to AI and digital transformation?
So I'm going to use that room that I was in just a couple of weeks ago because this young guy, Justin Lester, I believe his last name is. You should follow him on Instagram. I don't know if he's on anything else. He's Tech Pastor, T-E-C-H, Pastor, Justin Lester. You should follow him. He gives you tips. I mean, he's a genius in many respects. But I was in the room when he gave his presentation. His presentation was before mine and just messed me all up. I'm not the person that get nervous, if you know me. But I had a whole lot of angst after his presentation because he wowed the room. Because he showed the room literally 25 different apps that pastors can use. And many of them were scratching their heads because this particular room, they have anywhere from 25 to 100 people on staff, right? So they used to farming off stuff that they don't have to do anymore. And what Justin in my presentation said, you can't farm this off to anybody else. This is something that you got to do, right? And part of people today with leadership development and artificial intelligence, we think of it as, I don't have to learn this anymore. This is something for a younger generation. Yeah. And I'm suggesting to you today, this is not something for a younger generation. It is ageless, and it's something that all of us have to embrace if we're not only going to, quote unquote, take it to the next level, but understand how we're going to scale, shape, and be strategic in our thinking.
Most definitely. As we come up on 5 minutes till time, I want you to hone in on those that are struggling, those that are not with the tech generation, and how can they adapt to AI and digital tools, and where should they start?
I would say that, first of all, there's a lot of free content out there. And if it's not free, it's nominal in its cost, right? Which we encourage you to sign up for Glue text messaging. They have a free text message app, and then they have an app that's about $30, but it's nominal in its cost of what it can do as in the context of capacity. What I would encourage you to do is to go download a whole bunch of stuff and try it, right? try to see how it works, you know. And when you do that, you'll begin to become comfortable enough to expand your reach. Like I give you an example, Justin messed me and Bishop Walter Scott Thomas up because he said he had to release his finance director at his church, but the budget was due for presentation like 4 days before this person got released. Now, Justin being Justin, his church is Friendship Baptist Church in Vallejo, so he's close to some of you all. Justin being Justin found an AI app. They took all of their financials for that year, dropped it into this app. It created their projections for the next 3 years. It created their church budget and balanced it less than 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that offline. They're not a sponsor, so I can't talk about them. All right. But I'm using that as an example of how this pastor, like, he's reduced his staff because now he has artificial intelligence. You go to his website, he has a Autobot that looks like him that's talking, right? That he just feeds content to a couple of sentences, and it calls people back. So you don't have to worry about, you know, having people sitting in the office all day, you know, getting a check that's not producing anything. I'm not trying to talk about nobody. But he's streamlined his staff, and now his church is more effective around missions. So they feed more people. Because now the funds have shifted from bodies to now using it more effectively. Now, let me say this last piece about artificial intelligence. It is not designed to replace you. You are designed to replace you. So if you don't learn how to use it, you replace your own self. There's a song, there's an app, I will tell you this one. There's an app called Suno. Have any of y'all been to my website, drcharleyhaynes.com? You hear that song on there? That was created by artificial intelligence, right?
Oh, wow.
That song that's on there, Standing Grace, that's my tagline. It was from when I ran for Bishop. That song is created by artificial intelligence. I had to play with it a few minutes because the first time it came out, it sounded super Euro and country, you know. So I said, hey, nice try, Diddy. No, nice try. I said, but what I want you to do is I want you to give me an R&B flavor with an African-American gospel tone and a woman's voice that's in her mid-30s. And less than about 40 seconds, that song was produced. And I got 2 of them. So when you all get tired of listening to that one, I got a guy version of the same song that I can upload on the website. All right? Oh, by the way, and I did that free. Because Suno gives you so many free songs, right? So once I read and figured out how to look at it and use it, I created my songs. So I'm just giving you all some tangible examples of how this, so you ain't got to pay nobody to do a theme song. Like back in the day, I used Smokey Norfolk's music director to create BB's welcome song. I don't have to do that today. It's out there for you. All right, last question, I guess, and then we can open it up.
All right. The final question is, if readers take away just one transformative lesson from being a leveraged leader, what do you hope it is?
So if you go on the book, and I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but I give you 2 thoughts: progressive thinking and this whole ability around loving people. Right. One of the greatest gifts that I would say that Michelle has given me is to be empathetically detached. Mm-hmm. Right. And she's looking like, what is he talking about? She can be engaged in her world, in her work, right? But not so caught up where it changes her emotional state, her ability to lead and execute, right? And I had to watch that at, up close. Because for me, I'm a creative, so I'm naturally emotional, and, and you get me off on a tangent, it's not good, right? So I watched her, how she always remained poised, but yet she was engaged where people can feel that her care for them and her ability to be empathetic to their world, right? As a leader, that's one of the greatest gifts you can teach yourself. But the first thing you have to do is get in control of your emotions. If you cannot control your emotions, you will be manipulative or manipulated.
That's good.
So I remember, I was looking around the room, but I can't use that example.
Use it, Bishop, use it.
But I remember a situation where this person was just blowing up and just going nuts, right? And, I'm from the south side of Chicago. And so certain things trigger me. So so certain things trigger me. So for those who understand what I'm saying, you do certain things, you got a beat down coming. It's just gonna happen, right? But because of this gift I've received, right, I don't respond to that anymore, right? I know what my capacity is, right? But I don't respond in that way anymore. Because my greatest weapon is not allowing individuals to determine how I react to certain situations. Right. So thank you. Thank you for leading me through these questions and being who you are. Super proud of you. This young man, I watched him go through multiple careers. First of all, I never in a million years thought he would be a preacher, let alone a pastor. So part of that I have to give Jermaine Marshall credit for because we were in need of a pastor. And I said, man, I ain't got nobody. So he says, what about Reverend Elijah? I said, well, what about him? Right?
I ain't gonna do it.
I said, well, I'm not talking to him. You got to talk to him. And the rest is history. The other side of it is he just graduated about a year and a half ago or more from University of Kentucky with a master's in healthcare administration. Inspired by his stepmom, Michelle. So he has 2 active careers going on right now. He's intern fellow at Advocate Aurora Health Systems in Chicago. He has this long title that I'm not going to say right now, but he's actively applying for other types of things. So I told him at some point in his life, you're going to have to make a choice, but it ain't got to be today. So make as much money as you can, son. All right. All right. So this is Q&A for the people.
It is not, but
right.
We can. We went over time, but if we could give our bishop a hand clap of praise.
All right, thank you.
Oh, y'all can do better than that. Come on.
Thank you, sir.
And if you do have any questions, I'm sure you can try to tackle him before he walks out the door. But we won't be taking any at this time. I believe the expectation is for all of us to return to this site at 11:15. If we could be here back on time, that would be helpful for the run of show. Thank you all. Bless you all. Bishop.
And before I go, just I'm grateful for our team, but you heard the announcement. We're trying to encourage you. You could take videos and stuff like that, but do not live stream, because it gives free access to those who have not registered, right? So while that might help your numbers go up and your likes go up, it is killing those who took the time to register. And we have some sponsors that we're going to hear from. That's for those who invested in the time in the room, all right? And those who are online. And thank you for all of those who had challenges getting in earlier. Stuff shows up, but I want to thank God for Pastor Ramon Stripling along with Dr. Duhart, who took those funnels of emails and calls that we all were getting. And hopefully those who are online are experiencing a great experience now. So thank you all, and we'll see you back at 11:15.